Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Employer Content Marketing Pod. In this episode, we are chatting about how to get started in the early stages of your career in marketing. We're delighted to have Laura Dunne with me today. How you doing, Laura?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Not bad. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. Happy Friday. I know you're busy, so I really appreciate you getting onto the pod.
Yeah, no worries.
We've been chatting for a while about this, and I think why this episode. I think it's because I think for all the talk about marketing on this podcast and the things that could be done to make your marketing better and listening to what other people do, there is definitely a space for actually, well, if you are starting out in your career in marketing, as we talked about, it's such a fascinating time, such an exciting time to be joining it, but also it can be daunting because it's lots of people interested in getting into marketing, and the rise of content creators and the economy that's been developed off the back of content creation is massive. So I thought we'll spend a bit of time chatting with you. You've got an interesting story, and it'd be just great to hear about how you got started out in marketing, and also what things that you've done and what advice you can share for someone out in the early stages of their career in marketing. So I'll stop gassing on, and let's start with just a bit of an intro. Just tell us a bit about yourself, Laura.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, as Chris said, I'm Laura. I am currently the head of marketing at Not Going To Uni, and I also run a freelance marketing business on the side as well. So as you can imagine, really busy, always focused on marketing, shall we say. I can't escape it.
Yeah.
And yeah, just really busy and loving life at the moment, sure.
And then so you work for Not Going To Uni. So what's your role there?
Yeah, so I'm the head of marketing at Not Going To Uni, and it literally involves every aspect of marketing you could think of. It's just me and the marketing executive that we've got. So it's a very small team, and we literally do everything from the social media, the content writing, so your blogs and your ads and things like that, to literally planning the events, going to the events, setting them up, doing them, like every aspect of marketing that you can think of, we do at Not Going To Uni because it is such a small team. But I guess I like that, to be perfectly honest with you, because it gives me experience in so many different aspects of marketing, and it's kind of made me realize, I think, what I enjoy and what I maybe don't enjoy so much as well. So
definitely, there's nothing wrong with trying out lots of different things to start with, and I think it's definitely something we can talk about a bit later on, I think. So, but to start with, like, why did you choose marketing?
for me, I felt like it was quite not clear from the beginning, but I had a passion for 3 different subjects. So I did at A-level, I did business studies, media studies, and psychology. And honestly, I loved every single one of them. And I sat there and basically thought, what ties all of these subjects together? And I did my research, like just on Google and things like that. And marketing was the clear thing that come out that I did in all 3 of them. So obviously the psychological side of it is like the consumer behavior and things like that. The business side is generally, as it says on the tin, the business side of it. And then obviously with media, it's more the creative side, actually making the ads and things like that. And marketing just tied them 3 things together perfectly for me. And I guess since then, I think I'm quite lucky in the fact I knew what I wanted to do when I was doing my A-levels. For most people, I know it's not like that. But since then, I kind of knew I wanted to do marketing, and I've pursued in that industry. And here I am now. So it went well, shall we say.
What is it about marketing? As in, so you said from when you were doing A-levels, something since then you want to do. What is it? What is that thing that has kind of sparked that interest in marketing?
I think as I've done more and have become like more involved in the marketing industry, I think for me it's just the fact that it's different all the time. I like the fact that it changes. I like the fact that you have to be adaptable and that you have to kind of know what's going on all the time and react to things quite quickly. I love that side of it. I can do a job where I sit and do the same thing every day, and I think that's why I do like marketing. Every day I'm not doing the same thing. There's always something different to do, and I really do like that about it.
Yeah, I'm saying, I think such variety. It's great. You work with so many different types of people that you have to have so many different kind of hats on. It's I mean, people say, there's that old phrase which I think is becoming increasingly dated, showing its time, which is kind of jack of all trades, master of none. And actually, it's about you having to have kind of you need to have such an integrated, a wide range of understanding for that all
Yeah.
important context. So then when you go into something, when you then start to maybe specialize in an area,
Mhm.
then you've got that broader understanding that's going to make you a better person when you do that particular specialism.
Yeah, definitely. And I think kind of linking to that as well, I like the fact that in marketing you can work in any industry. You're not kind of tied to, oh, you have to
Yes.
be in one industry. Every company, I mean, not saying that they do, but every company should have a marketing team or have a marketing department or do something, have a presence somewhere. So
Mm.
there's always like a change, I guess. Like there's always a chance to change. If I didn't want to be in the industry I'm in, I could go and do the same thing, but in another industry. And I like that flexibility of it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you said yourself, you working for an insurance company, you've worked in, health and fitness, you've working in the apprenticeship early career space.
Yeah. It's a very broad
Such
range.
such good variety, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've loved it over the years where literally one day I can be working on helping, recruit nurses, to then
Yeah.
working with a local retailer, to working in the local politics space. I mean, it's the thing is that marketing itself is good. Marketing can be applied to everything, you know,
100%. Yeah.
and you get to learn a lot, don't you? You just get to learn a lot about different businesses and different sectors and different
Mhm.
industries in the way that you
Yeah.
maybe wouldn't do in other areas.
Yeah, definitely. No, I think I really do enjoy that part of it. And I think now I've said it, I actually
Mm.
realised that is actually a big reason why I think I do love marketing. I don't really think about it until we
Mm.
had this conversation, to be honest. But I think it is a big part of why I love what I do for sure.
I think it's like, yeah, I think if you look at other areas, I mean, if you, I don't know, if you go into HR or if you go into, finance, or, there's, not to say not to say you you have to understand the business you're working for. Of course you do, but I think with marketing, it's that much more obvious that you're going to
Yeah.
be immersed in
No, I
that
agree.
business
Yeah.
more in terms of what it does, because you need to
Definitely.
communicate that in the right way.
Yeah. No, definitely. I do
Mm.
definitely like that kind of side of things for sure.
So that first step, you've
Yeah.
been doing it for a few years now in marketing. What was that? How did you make that first step?
I think for me, so I went to uni and did a marketing degree. And it was
Mm.
great. I wouldn't change it, to be fair. I actually did really enjoy it and the whole experience was great. But within that, I actually got a part-time job in marketing as well, whilst I want to say I was in my
Okay.
second year, like the latter half of the second year. And I literally, and I'm not joking you, I emailed about 100 local companies and just basically
Nice.
said, I am at uni at the moment, like I'm looking for some experience in marketing. Do you have anything available? And
Mm.
maybe two of them got back to me, but I got a job out of it. And it
Brilliant.
was a local company. It was a marketing agency. I worked there for 2.5 days a week and then was at uni for the other 2.5 days.
Mm.
And I loved it. It was the best thing I ever did, 100%, because like it was basically like doing an apprenticeship, a degree apprenticeship. I just made it myself and was still paying my uni fees. But it's the same
Lovely.
principle, getting experience and doing the degree.
Mm.
And it got me my first full-time job. I was lucky that after I finished uni, they offered me a full-time job there, and I worked there
That's good.
for a year and a half, I want to say, full-time, which was great. And obviously now I'm here. I don't think I would be here if I didn't have the experience from that first time job. So I was very grateful
Mm.
for that. And I think it's just being proactive, isn't it? I wouldn't have got that job if I didn't email all them companies. So yeah, proactive is the way forward, I think.
Same thing happened to me. I sent loads of letters. Oh my God, showing my age here. Sent out loads of letters to people. It wasn't that long ago, but it's, but sent out letters to loads of organisations, and sent one to the CEO of a local company, and it managed to trickle its way down to the right person. Thank goodness it
Yeah.
happened. But there's that. There's an element of, I suppose, some people thinking, "Oh, where on earth do I start?" There's
Yeah.
you're putting yourself out there. So some
Hmm.
people could feel like that's, oof, you know what, this is quite a this is quite a challenging moment. I'm putting myself out there. I suppose you kind
Yeah.
of make yourself a little bit vulnerable by doing that.
Well,
How do
you
you
are
feel when
almost,
you're doing it?
I think you've literally just hit the nail on the head there. You are almost putting yourself out there for rejection. 100 companies aren't going to say yes, are they? So you
Yeah.
are always
Yeah.
opening yourself up to rejection. I think that almost helped me as well, because it made me more resilient.
Okay.
Like, in the fact that I knew I really wanted to get that job, like any job. I didn't care what it was. I just wanted some experience in marketing.
Nice.
And I think, it just made me more resilient. I think I kind of did it in batches from what I remember. I think I did like 25, wait a week. If no one got back to me, I'd do another 25. And it wasn't in the first 25 that anyone got back to me. And the company I actually ended up working for, they wasn't even looking for anybody. They weren't hiring anybody. They just kind of took a chance on me, and it worked out for them and for me. So yeah, I think it's scary for sure. And I completely get why someone would be like, oh my God, why would you do that? But it was so worth it in the long run, and it did give me that really valuable experience that, as I said, I wouldn't be here now if I didn't do it. So yeah.
Well, lovely. I think I think you're being very focused on going, look, whichever way I get there, it's just about, I want to get some sort of experience, and
Exactly.
The kind of expectations being no more than that. It's just kind of within reason, like kind of any opportunity I just want to take, because I just got to start doing something. And I think it's difficult. It's easy to feel a bit despondent if you're spending a decent amount of time doing it, sending 25, 50 messages out and not getting a response. But you realize that people are busy. It's not, don't take it personally. There's like, either it's not the right time for them, or they haven't got time to respond, or there just isn't the need. It's nothing to do with you.
It's like a mindset thing as well, though, isn't it? Like, in my head, I was like, although people are busy and it might not be the right time, it will be the right time for someone. And so it was the right time for someone, and I got something. It's how you think about what I think. And I think I've learned that through that experience. Because when I started my freelance business, I did a similar thing. And I didn't know anybody that wanted marketing. So I literally emailed again, or I think it was Instagram actually, DM'd people. I was like, oh, look, I'm local. I'm just started up a marketing business. Are you looking to outsource your marketing? If so, let's have a chat. And again, I did it to about 100 companies, and I got clients from it, and I still have some of them clients now. And it's a tactic I've used in different situations, but it 100% builds you up, and it makes your mindset change, because somebody will get back to me. I know that it will, because I've done it, and they did.
Totally.
So it's just a mindset shift, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like, you never know. Just do it, because go to that event, or spend a few hours just sending out those messages, because you never know. It's worth doing it. And even if some things don't work out, you're still learning from it, aren't you?
Exactly that. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, you said you like your fitness, and I see some of your stuff on Instagram in terms of the sessions that you do. My goodness, you probably go through it. But there's some people call it resilience, but I think sometimes that in itself can be a bit of a barrier, because it's not so much resilience. It's just about sticking to it. Resilience can sometimes feel like it's something which is difficult to attain. You got to be a resilient person to do it. But it's like, no, just have a simple focus and go, right, I'm just going to get my head down and do this. I
think it's also within that, setting yourself small goals. Even like I said, do 10 emails. If you don't get nothing back, do another 10. Don't say to yourself, oh my God, I have to sit here and do 100 emails, because to anybody that sounds like hell. That is just awful. Nobody wants to do that. But by setting yourself smaller targets and breaking that down into what you actually need to do, it sounds a lot more realistic. And again, I just think it's a whole mindset thing. I really think that just breaking things down and being positive and thinking about it in a different way really helps and gets you to where you want to be.
Well, actually, it's regular listeners or watchers of this podcast will probably not be surprised to know that I run a number of marathons over the years, and actually I'll put a link to it, actually, to one of the episodes, or one of the videos I did about my marathon running. But from what I learned from marathon running is, or maybe it's why I do marathon running, is because of the thing about taking a big challenge and just breaking it down into digestible chunks. That's life, and taking that first step and just keep doing it. Finding Dory, just keep swimming, I mean, whatever you want to call it,
That though, isn't it? You can apply it to so many things, like you've just said, running a marathon, or me going to the gym, or whatever it is. Do you know what I mean? Finding clients, finding a job. You can apply that situation to anything. It is just literally how you think about something that will get you to where you want to be.
Yeah, I think one has more tools than they think, especially if you're starting out in your career and going, oh my goodness, I'm taking these first steps, is that actually draw upon the things that you've learned, whether it's in sports, whether it's in clubs you've been a member of, or your role in families is that there's actually a lot you've already got to help you do the kind of things you've been talking about. So you're a few years into your marketing career. There's an element of kind of setting the foundations here, you know. And we've kind of touched on some of it already, but in terms of like, what kind of foundational things, what kind of things you think are worth doing to kind of to make sure you're setting yourself for a, you know, a long and happy career in marketing?
I think doing your research is the key place to start. And obviously, where I work in early careers, I speak to so many students and kind of get asked questions similar to this quite often. And I always just say to people, do your research, like whether that's going on Google, whether that's talking to people in the industry that you know, whether it's a family member, a friend, or whatever it is, do your research, find out what you like and then what you can do with what you like. I think with that is thinking about, like, as I said, I liked psychology, business and media studies. So putting them together, I knew I enjoyed them. So I knew that whatever job I did that surrounded them, that I would put 100% effort into because I enjoyed it. So I think it is, as I said, doing your research and making sure that you find something you love based on what you like, what you can do with that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. But actually, that's the psychology side of things. It's great you made the connection. Psychology is so important. You could argue that actually there are lots of different parts of the marketing world that aren't as kind of tuned into psychology as much as much as they could do. I think, you know, it's no surprise that Mark Zuckerberg is where he is and started out where he started out, because he did computer science, and I'm sure he had a psychology element to it as well. He understands human behavior. And I think
that's really interesting.
Marketing so often like talks about demographics. I've said it before on this podcast, but maybe it's a slightly different way of saying it, but focusing on demographics, which is like such a limiting thing, because there's demographics, yes, but there's also psychographics, or how they think, feel, and their motivation. That is so important. That's what you get from psychology. Definitely is really understanding human nature.
Definitely, no, I agree. And I think it's a bigger part of marketing than what people think. Like you just said, like a lot of companies probably don't actually play on that side of marketing. But if you don't understand your customer, how are you gonna actually be able to market to them? And like you said, it's not just, oh, they're a woman and they're between 30 and 40, so they're gonna love X, or do you know what I mean? Whatever it is, it's not as simple as that. It's like, what is their motivation to buy your product or your service? And like, it goes deeper, doesn't it? And I think it is just about understanding that as well.
On my I've had Nick Francis, who's chairman and co-founder of Casual. They're a film production company, video production company, and he wrote a book about video for marketing. And I think one of the chapters he talks about demographics, and he's got description of a certain demographic type,
right?
Male in their 40s, etc., and he puts the two people up on the page. One is Prince Charles, or maybe not the 40s, a bit older now, but one is Prince Charles and one is Ozzy Osbourne.
Oh wow, this is interesting.
You know, I mean, what a difference. You know, it's like so. Well, it's like demographics is so limiting, but I think I think the challenge comes is when people are thinking about. I mean, this touches on obviously what Not Going to Uni are about, is when you're trying to figure out what you want to do. If you're doing psychology, it's difficult to make that leap into something that's not psychology. It's like, well, I'm doing psychology, therefore I go into psychology. But actually, it's about broadening people's minds on things are going.
Yeah, and funnily enough, I actually
give you all these different elements.
Definitely. And I had this conversation with somebody at a careers fair we did recently, and they were really invested in psychology. And they said, what can I do with psychology? I feel like they were like, it's very science-based. And they were like, I don't like science. And I was like, but you've got to think outside of the box. Like, what involves psychology? Like, even HR is psychological as well. Marketing, like, whatever it is, there's so much out there. I said, you've just got to think outside the box and think, what can I do with psychology that isn't science-based? And there's a lot. And look at them options. And again, do your research. It links back to that same point, doesn't it? About finding out what you love and linking it to that.
Let's finish off with, classic kind of takeaways, I suppose. There's like, for someone who's in the early stages of their career, you know, let's say the first like 3 to 4 years.
Yeah.
What advice would you give them in terms of things that are going to, you know, Ooh, set them up for success. A bit of a cliche, but
Yeah. I think, and I thought about this actually before we did this, because I thought that it is a very cliche question, but what can you actually do to reach that point? And I think it's different for everybody, but for me, and I've only kind of restarted doing this recently, but networking is a huge part of that, and using platforms
okay,
like
yeah,
LinkedIn, which again, I know is a cliche answer, but it actually really does work. Um,
100%, yeah,
and
absolutely.
and even networking events. I'm not sure if you saw the post I did the other day on LinkedIn about I actually went to a marketing networking event, which
Oh,
was
you
like
went to
first one I've ever
LinkedIn,
been to.
yes, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and it was
Lovely
great. Like it
building,
was so
love
good.
LinkedIn.
Exactly. And I think it is just making connections with people in the right areas. And as we've said, because marketing is so broad and there are so many people that work in so many different industries but still do marketing, there is so many people out there for you to meet. It is just putting yourself out there and kind of finding them and making them connections. And for all you know, you could make a connection with somebody today, and in 2 years' time, maybe they're the one offering you a job, or do you know what I mean? Vice versa, whatever the situation is, it is just about making them connections. And I think I've only really learned that quite recently, to be honest with you, about networking and using LinkedIn more and things like that. But I'm glad I have, and I'm hoping that it will get me somewhere in the future. So we shall see.
Yeah, I think it's that again. It goes back to that thing about putting yourself out there. I think
Mhm.
putting yourself out there in terms of, oh, I'm going to go to an event and
Yeah.
put a network, and well, some people, people can feel like apprehensive about doing that, or going out onto LinkedIn and messaging people or putting posts out there and maybe not getting a response. It's a bit of an outside of your comfort zone thing, but
It
I
is.
think it's the kind of trying to think about a long term as well,
Yeah.
and going,
Mhm.
yes, getting something in the short to medium term is important, but also think part of what I'm doing is about the long term. I've been had conversations and been to events, and I've been close to not having. And I know
Yeah.
over the years it resulted in great things happening. So it goes back to that
Yeah.
thing about, you never know.
Yeah, no, definitely. And as you said,
Mm,
like it is putting yourself out of your comfort zone. Like if you spoke to my sister or my mum or anyone in my family, they would literally tell you, if you would say a year ago that I'd be going to these events and speaking to loads of different people, they would have laughed at you, because I was just not that person. Like I was quite shy
mm,
and timid in that way of networking. But now I'm not gonna say it comes naturally, because I still do get a bit nervous and things like that. And I think
mm.
that's natural, but I am so much better at it. But it only come with experience of doing it and kind of forcing myself to go out of my comfort zone and to push myself to do that. And I'm glad I did,
Mm.
but it wasn't easy. I'll say that.
No, but you did it though, which is great.
Absolutely.
Um, and actually, from what you just said, it's reminded me of a a community called Marketing Meetup, run by Joe Glover, and I'll put a link to it in the episode description. But Joe very much kind of set up this now like a massive community of marketeers, based on the thing about feeling apprehensive about going to the typical networking,
Right.
events. Um, so it's about kind of being a very kind of open and welcome community. So the marketing meetup is, it's very much on that. So anyone who's feeling a bit apprehensive, or I think actually something like that is good, because it's geared up to be very open and accessible, rather than the typical networking thing where you have to be running up to people with your business card in hand going, let's talk business. So,
Yeah,
and actually I think a lot in events is about that. People don't necessarily go to events to be sold to. It's just about being able to take some time away from the office and just chat with interesting people. So
definitely. And I
just
think
get
as
just
well,
get
it's
chatting.
about going to them events, but not thinking about, oh my God, I need to get a client out of this, or I need to make
Yes,
sure I
yeah,
speak to
that's
100
true.
people. Like, go to the event, just be yourself, have a chat with people, get to know people. It's not always
Exactly.
got to have that like return on investment kind of mindset the whole time, because
Mm,
a lot of the time it's when you don't think like that that the best things actually come out of it. Um, yeah, I just think it doesn't
100%.
always need to be that way,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Just back yourself, just to be yourself, and
Absolutely.
and learn on the way. It's
Yeah,
yeah, you're right. That short term thing of going, oh, I need to be able to, handed out X number of CVs, or I need to
yeah.
gathered or dished out X number of business cards. I actually who said that. So I actually, little plug for my newsletter. Can't help myself, but I've got
Oh,
my
very
newsletter,
good.
I've got a new business card with a QR code. So anyone who's watching this on YouTube, on their computer, on their desktop, take a scan of that, and that would take you straight to the newsletter. It's easy sign up. Drop your email in there, and you'll get basically all the latest episodes.
Amazing.
Great. Any other things that come to mind at all in terms of like foundational stuff?
I think it's just about being proactive, as I've said. I think the whole way through this, I've kind of just had that kind of mindset, and being proactive. As I said, I wouldn't have got that first job in marketing if I wasn't proactive. I wouldn't have got the clients that I've got now for my freelance business if it wasn't proactive and things like that. And I think it is just being proactive, be on top of things, push yourself out there, as we've said the whole way through this kind of episode. Being proactive is key. And then the other thing that kind of comes to mind is experience as well. And I think you touched on it earlier, Chris, but being open to any kind of experience. Obviously, if you want to do marketing experience is great. But what about those like part-time jobs you had when you were 16? I was a waitress, and them skills probably still come into hand. Teamwork, communication, and like anything like that is played on any of those skills, I think. And any experience is good experience, right?
That customer service is like that's such an important part of any business.
Yeah.
You know, is think about the agency world, and you know, it's in the marketing world, it's that customer service, and again, that psychology, not just for the audience, but your clients. You know, understanding, having empathy for their situation, and trying to solve their problems, and taking that kind of consultative approach. Then, you know, that all requires, you know, good customer service, good understanding of human nature, you know, and empathy. So actually, there's a lot that people can draw upon from their
definitely. I think people
evening
forget
jobs,
that as well.
you know, part-time jobs, retail jobs. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, I think that's a definitely takeaway for sure. Just don't downplay your experience, I think.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I think that's, absolutely. Okay, good stuff. Well, if anyone wants to chat with you on LinkedIn, reach out on you on LinkedIn. You're there. Anywhere else where people can find you?
I'm on Instagram. I've got my freelance marketing page, which is just literally Laura Dunne Marketing. And then LinkedIn is probably the other best place to connect with me, which is literally just Laura Dunne. So yeah. Nice.
And actually, I think your Instagram account is nice for that, because it shows more than just you as a, you know, as a professional. You know,
exactly.
But also, I think there's a bit of a journey there. Seeing your journey, you know, of running your own business is really, really nice. So I'll put those in the YouTube description and episode description.
Brilliant, thank you.
For the podcast, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Take care.
Perfect. Thanks, Chris.